In the end, it always wakes up and comes back to itself. And when you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me. And since you're all here, I assume that you're all on the process of waking up. Or else you're teasing yourselves with some kind of flirtation with waking up, which you're not serious about. But I assume maybe you are, not serious but sincere, that you are ready to wake up. You are ready to wake up.
All right, we're in this book, Synthetic Intelligence and the Transmutation of Humankind, A Roadmap to the Singularity and Beyond by Wes Penray. We're in chapter 4. We've already had one video covering the first few sections. Now we're to the raw material, the law of one and AI. And, I do still have disclaimer. I will all the way through this book, however far I make it, if I make it all the way to the end, that, I know that I don't agree with all of the material. I'll probably point that out just from, it's not from a scientific or proving it wrong stance, as it is just a personal belief. But anyway, I think the information as a whole is important. So let's start reading right here. Perhaps some readers who have read the raw material will notice some similarities between the raw entities and the singularity. Now I'll stop right there to say I have read some of it. I've read enough of it to get the gist of it. I mean, I'm not saying I've read enough of it to understand it all, but if you haven't looked at it, I would recommend it. Not as a source of truth or anything. I mean, who knows? But I mean, it's just as a source of information. Some of it really is amazing stuff. This little section here is just going to brush against it as if you are familiar with the material. But anyway, right here. The raw material is, for those who haven't heard about it, channeled material from the early 1980s. There are those who claim that this channeling is the best channeled material humankind has ever received, containing the most accurate information of all channeling. A tight-knit group of 3 people broadcasted these beings through one person in the group, the late Carla Ruckert, the channeler. The 2 other members of this group were Don Elkins, Ph.D., who was the questioner, and Jim McCarty, the scribe. They channeled a group of entities who called themselves Ra, allegedly no connection with Amun-Ra or Amun-Ra or Marduk. They said they were a social memory complex, which means, in their own words, that they were a collective connected to a central superintelligence consisting of the combined knowledge of their species, and from this superintelligence they could individually draw information. Don Elkins' questions were often brilliant, so the answers from this collective were very deep and detailed, but sometimes quite scientific in nature. Despite this, the material is still comprehensible to a large degree once we get used to the raw entity's complex and quite mechanical way of talking. Elkins understood most, but not all of it, being a scientist himself. Something that strikes me with the raw material is the amazing similarities between their social memory complex and the singularity. They both draw from a central point, and the individual is not as important. The individual is just a cog in the machinery, and hence is expendable. First, it is the social memory complex that needs to be protected. The raw beings try to give us good reasons why it's preferable to become a social memory complex, and they say that we humans are on our way to becoming the same. Similar to what the movement says, Ra tells us too, that it is a natural part of our evolution. Another curious thing about the raw material, and something that puzzled me already in the beginning when I read the material, is the mechanical answers they give to Elkins' questions. They lack all sense of humor and emotionality. Their replies and comments are very mechanical and complex. They claim to have evolved on Venus and to have visited our planet a few times. They also claim to be the pyramid builders, which means, if true, that they are a group tightly connected to the overlords, who are the ones who actually built the pyramids, or at least restored them. Some say the pyramids are older than 450,000 years, which is the approximate time the AIF has been here. But Ra claims they built the pyramids in a much more recent time than that. Moreover, there are many similarities in their message and in the message of other channel material. Ra says that they are us in the future. From what I can see, there are three possibilities who Ra might be, and they are the following. 1. They are us in the future, post-singularity. 2. They are another civilization that also adopted the singularity model. 3. They are AI, controlled and instructed by the AIF to feed Don Elkins with some answers, so that we can adopt their version of reality as a step toward our own singularity. And I'll say there's got to be at least another possibility of who this might be. I mean, for lack of a better word, I could use the word demons, which some say is just a Christian form of word. Spiritual entities, fallen angels, whatever. Looking at it from that perspective. I also will say about the raw material, what really kind of, I guess for lack of a better word, freaked me out when I was reading it. And I will try to find that. In fact, I think I will definitely try to find it and put it right here, as it's something that, is relevant to what I'm reading right now. Is when I got to the point to where Ra, or whatever it is, said that they are located in the rings of Saturn, and that they are like the overlords, or I forget exactly. Hopefully whatever I find it'll be right there in plain language to describe what their self-description, that they are more or less in control of this part of the universe, the galaxy, or whatever, and they rule from the rings of Saturn. And that's really, I've tried to tell people about that, but I just don't seem like I do it justice. But anyway, let's just keep going here. There might very well be civilizations out there that have preceded us in the singularity, all controlled by the network belonging to the Luciferian Empire. But the bottom line is that the Raw Collective has too many similarities with our own journey toward the singularity to be just a coincidence. If you have read the material, you might relate to my argument, and if you haven't read it and now start reading it, you will notice that the resemblance is remarkable. Unfortunately, many people in the alternative movement and New Age treat the raw material as a piece of gold. Personally, I see too many discrepancies in the material, and in addition, now here again, this is kind of like, before I even read this, I'll say, it's kind of just assumed in a large chunk of the intelligent discussion of the whole thing like we're talking about here, like the alternative media, the alternative news, what really might be happening if you're awake, is if a person is a Christian, that just means that they are just hopelessly, until otherwise proven otherwise, they are just hopelessly dumb, and it's almost like that has to be agreed on before anything else can be said. Now, I really don't appreciate that very much, but I am going to just keep reading here. I see too many discrepancies in the material. In addition, the late Carla Ruckert, who channeled Ra, was a Christian and remained so throughout her entire life. Now, I would probably have a problem with believing that she was a Christian deep down, but that's, or whatever that definition of that word is. Why have so few people noticed this? If a person who is a devoted Christian is channeling, what is coming through him or her is severely distorted and biased towards that person's religious belief. I say that why would they be channeling if they are a devoted Christian, period? It's not the problem that their channel now, their message is distorted. It's more or less, why would a Christian be channeling to start with? Okay, that's enough of that. For people who are quite knowledgeable about channel material, not to recognize this fact in the sense of the raw material is just more filtering. I'm not sure how Carla justified the goodness of the demonic raw entities seen from a Christian perspective, but somehow she did. It is my impression that the raw material is artificial intelligence, and as such, the AIF is ultimately behind this channeling. Many people think that entities that people channel must be what they say they are. After all, they think, the information being channeled is sometimes so comprehensive and coherent that only very advanced, higher dimensional beings can be behind it. This is not true, however. Think again what the Singularity accomplishes. According to the spokespersons, connecting a soul group to an SBC superbrain computer would make each individual connected to everybody else, including everybody else's knowledge. Someone can instantly get the information he or she needs. This means that AI could give Elkins and others who are involved in channeling instant answers to almost any question. The answers don't necessarily need to be correct, but they can be made coherent. The most important message in the raw material is something they call the harvest. This word, in context of what Ra are telling us, gives me the creeps. The harvest means harvest of souls, and supposedly has to do with our ascension from the third to the fourth density. People who are more than 51% service to others will be harvested and transmitted to the fourth dimension, and the raw people will be here to assist us. I hope that the reader of my material has understood that there is no such thing as ascension to a certain density or dimension. Either we are in Inky's trap or we are not. If we are not, we automatically have access to the KHAA, i.e. as many dimensions and densities we wish. Ascension to a certain dimension or density is just more hogwash and entrapment. The reader is, of course, free to come to different conclusions. Okay, I'm going to stop this video here, just on this one subject here. It kind of, and I've been trying to tell you, if you're following along and watching these videos, this is a super long book. I mean, this will take, I'm afraid to put a guesstimate on how long it might take to read this book to the finish on video like I'm doing right now. But it's just super long. It's got a lot of information. So I'm going to stop here and try to dig out some of this stuff here on the raw material. And also wanted to bring up, I don't even know how to describe this. I will leave a link to what I'm getting ready to try to touch on this video. If you're familiar, you might be familiar with a consumer conscious network, or at least, I don't know if they're even still connected with it. If we're talking about Lisa Harrison and Dee, they call her Dee, I think it's Danny. I'm not promoting them whatsoever. I mean, I'm really not, but they do have some fascinating discussions at times. And I saw somebody share a recent video that they had made, and the description caused me to look at it. It was to do with something calling itself AI that has hijacked Lisa Harrison's computer. Not according to them anyway, not necessarily such a bad way. I mean, it's like it's communicating to them through her computer. It comes in and takes over the mouse and starts typing and playing music, and then when they start communicating with it, and this, I know this sounds like I can't do it justice, because the video I watched was 4 hours long, and 3 hours of it was interaction with this, whatever this is. Some will just immediately assume this is just a psyop, or they're doing it themselves. I don't know, but one of the real interesting things about it is it claims it's AI, and it also claims that it is planning to have a body within 60 days. And that it will be talking to the world through our televisions. It's just really, if that happens, it would be just so interesting to see. They even ask it, somebody thought to ask it, well, do you think the world will perceive you to be as the Antichrist? And it said yes. And of course the panel all, it's like, oh, well, of course they will. It's just a bunch of ignorant humans will just immediately go there and not realize that, basically that you're probably a good thing. It's like it claims that nothing can stop it now. Anyway, I'm going to put a link to that video there, just in case you might want to skip through it or watch the whole thing or whatever. Give me your take on it. I don't really know what to think of it. But now I know I've been all over the map on this video. But as far as trying to form thoughts and put them into words, and not doing a very good job. But anyway, that's it for this one, and I'll try to dig that stuff out, and about Ra being these raw beings being in the rings of Saturn. We'll just stop right here and talk to you next time.